Okay. Hello, my name is Andy Cripe with PolarKraft Boats. I'm president and co-owner of this great company. We're sitting in a 195 Crappie Pro. I'm here with Scott Hoover. Scott Hoover is our head of sales for the whole company and also helps us with a great deal of our product development initiatives. We're going to interview Scott. Scott comes to us with a really cool background, and he really gives us, in our product even more than anything else, a lot of credibility. So Scott, tell us a little bit about your path to PolarKraft.
All right, I guess my path to PolarKraft is kind of a long one. I'm originally from Indianapolis, and for those of you that aren't in the area, Indianapolis is about 2.5 to 3 hours south of our PolarKraft plant here. I grew up in Indy, went to high school in Indianapolis, went to college at University of Indianapolis, but I spent a lot of time in the area. My grandparents had a lake cottage, I guess, just a little shack on Lake Webster, which is about 10 minutes south of our plant here. And you know, we would load up the family truckster every weekend and head up to Lake Webster, and you know, used to do a lot of fishing with my dad. Spent a lot of time skiing and tubing and doing all that fun stuff from about the time that I can remember until I became a freshman in high school. And once I got to high school and the sports thing got going big, and you know, played football and wrestled and did all those things. So the lake cottage kind of stopped for a few years, and you know, I focused on school and sports. And when I graduated from college, I got the chance to come up to Northwood High School, which is about 10 minutes north of our plant here, and become a high school business teacher and a coach. And you know, that was great for a couple of reasons. Number one, I always wanted to help kids. I enjoyed teaching, I enjoyed the coaching part and being around sports. But number two, that gave me the opportunity to have my summers off and have the spring break and a Christmas break where we took fishing trips. And so, you know, it kind of gave me the best of both worlds, where I could live both of my passions, which was helping kids and coaching, and then fishing and spending time outdoors. And I did that for 17 years. I enjoyed every minute of it, met a lot of great people, and you know, one of those people happened to be one of my volunteer assistant football coaches, Scott Tuttle, who is now one of the co-owners of PolarKraft, and he brought me over here and introduced me to Andy, and convinced me that it was time to, you know, stop having a hobby of fishing and make it my career. And you know, of course, me being the naive teacher, thought that meant that I could fish a whole lot more and spend a lot more time on the water, and that hasn't necessarily happened.
So the irony is, now that you're working your passion, you fish less than you ever did.
I do fish less than I ever did, but I still have fun. I get to, you know, part of the fun of fishing and being around boats is not just being on the water, but talking it and talking to people that enjoy doing it. And you know, that part is, you know, quadrupled from what I used to be able to do.
Sure. Well, and I'm glad Scott Tuttle. Scott's our partner here, my partner, and he's a great guy. And I really appreciate him hooking us up. Scott has been a huge asset for us. So just to let the viewers know that we can, you know, walk the talk a little bit, or that you can especially. Tell us a little bit about, so that's how you ended up at PolarKraft. Now tell us a little bit about what you like to fish out of, what you have fished out of, some of the places that you fished, just so that later when we tell the story about some of your experiences in our boats, it'll make a little sense, and it'll give them some context and some color.
All right. Well, you know, obviously as a kid, grew up doing a lot of the bluegill fishing. We fished for a lot of bluegill on the beds, and start off as a bobber fisherman, just like most kids do. And then we kind of got into some of the crappie. Webster Lake, where we would go for the weekends, was a really good crappie lake, and there's some muskie on Webster. And then you know, all that kind of evolved into my main passion, which is bass fishing. And you know, I spend most of my time fishing for bass. I've been lucky enough, you know, we're right here in an area, people think it's kind of bad fishing because we're not down south. We don't get to go to catch those big Texas giants and the Florida bass. But you know, if you look at some of the lakes that we have within 3 or 4 or 5 hours of us, you know, we've got the Traverse City area, which is some of the best smallmouth fishing in the country. We're about 4 hours from Lake St. Clair, which I believe was voted #1 on the Bassmaster list last year for top lakes. Been able to fish that quite a bit. We also have a really fun trip that we take down to Kentucky Lake every year in the spring when the fish are up shallow. And
that's with you and Joe?
Yep, college roommate of mine. We get to go down and fish at Kentucky Lake, and I've also been able to take my dad down there and some friends that I've met up here. It's just a great place. So we fish Kentucky Lake. Had a chance this year to go to Lake of the Ozarks with Royal Peterson and take our boats there, and another huge lake. So, you know, we're lucky enough to fish those big lakes and get spoiled, and then we come back here to our little hometown where we've got hundreds and hundreds of 500 to 1,000 acre lakes, and you can catch tons of fish all day, but they're not the trophies that you get kind of spoiled when you go to Traverse City. But it is fun. It is fun.
I'll attest to something real quick. I have young kids, and they love going fishing. Excuse me. They love going fishing, but Scott is awesome with the kids when he takes them fishing. I mean, it's really fun on the small lakes. Just they don't care. I mean, they want to catch great big hogs too, but they have fun just catching anything. So your statement about passion about kids, I think you still have it. So it's kind of cool. Well, you fish a lot of different places. You can attest to what big water looks like. What do you typically, prior, fish out of?
Well, before I started working at PolarKraft,
you can tell us what you own.
I've always been a fiberglass guy. A lot of that is, just perception. You feel like that's what you have to have. That's what the big boys have. That's what you see on TV all the time. So obviously that's what I wanted to. And I've owned a couple different skeeters. And I've had the chance to fish out of a lot of other glass boats.
Primarily glass boats?
Yeah, almost all glass boats. Not many aluminum, just because, to be honest with you, they scared me a little bit. I wasn't sure what I was getting into. I'm a big guy. I like to be able to move around on the front deck and jump around and not feel like I'm going to fall in the lake. And, I like to be able to fish in bad weather and cold weather with, last week I was up on St. Clair and we had 42-degree water temperature, and that's not something I really want to fall into. So, I've always been a glass guy in the past, and I've really enjoyed fishing out of my skeeter boat. It was a great boat.
So with that said, I think it was almost all good, positive excitement and energy making the transition from your past career to this career, except for one thing. I mean, maybe there's others you didn't tell me, but I find it funny. What was the one thing you were afraid I was going to make you do?
The one thing I was afraid I was going to have to do was give up my fiberglass boat and fish out of an aluminum boat all the time.
Okay, which I wanted you to do, but what did I say?
You said that I did not have to do that unless I believed in the product, and unless if I had to give it a chance.
Yep.
I had to get in the boat and see what I thought, and and if I liked it, then I could fish out of a PolarKraft, and if I didn't, then I could still have my skeeter.
I'd take the labels off, of course, but no, I said, just give it a shot. That's all I asked. That was the only requirement. Give the product a shot. So, the reason why we're doing this video, a lot of this video we could have done, last year, but it came about because Scott just went on a trip with a gentleman named Josh Kraft. Really strong fisherman, great guy, good fisherman, good boater, knows his stuff, fiberglass guy. And he's interested in one of our 195 TXs, a 195 Bass Pro level boat, we believe it is. And he was skeptical, right? Would you fair
Yeah, he was skeptical, and I made the trip up to St. Clair last week, and so that was, I guess, a week and a half ago, because it was the end of November.
So he wanted to test it out, which we said great, because I really don't want an advocate in our boat who's not an actual advocate. So Hoover goes up there with him. Now, this is where it comes, because Scott Hoover, and Josh were their review was cool. I don't want to take away the fun, but it made me want to tell this story. So tell the story of how the trip went, please.
Well, we've been trying to find a time to go over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and for those of you that are not familiar with St. Clair, you can't go fish St. Clair every day. It's close to being a great lake, and it gets really rough, and
gets rough fast.
Gets rough fast, and it's not a deal where you can just pick a day and go out. So we kind of watch the weather, and when we decided to go out last week, we had between 20 and 30 mile-an-hour winds, which is pretty high. And I drove up. I made the 4-hour trip up to Detroit, and as I'm going to the launch where I'm going to meet Josh, I'm passing boat ramp after boat ramp after boat ramp, and the fishing's still good up there. They're still catching smallmouth. They're still catching some muskie. Walleye guys are still out, and I kept passing boat ramp after boat ramp, and not a single boat on the water. So I'm thinking, okay.
And there's plenty of fish to be caught.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. Maybe I shouldn't be going out. And again, I'm comfortable on big water, but I'm not stupid. And I looked out, and it was one of those days where 9 out of 10 days I would go to a little inland lake and find some smaller water, or I'd turn around and go home. We decided, since we drove all that way, and Josh wanted to test the boat, and he wanted to see if the boat was something that could withstand the pressure and all the different weather conditions of a fishing season. We decided to go out.
Right, you had a chance to test what nears one of his worst cases.
Yeah.
Or rougher cases, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we went out, and we ended up going, probably 3 or 4 miles out, and took on the big waves, and Josh drove, and we kind of thought, well, we'll see what we can take over the front end. And now obviously Josh knows how to drive a boat. He's a good driver, but and that has something to do with it for sure. But
sure.
Nothing, no water over the front, no water over the back. It's just all those fears that I had when I was going from a fiberglass boat to an aluminum boat. It's not tinging every time we hit a wave. You didn't feel like you were unstable at all. And we got out and did some fishing, and it was just, it's really nice to hear guys, when you get them in the boat for the first time, that they just go on and on about, man, I can't believe this is an aluminum boat.
Yep.
I can't believe it. It looks, with the diamond flake that we're putting in the paint, and the lines that we're trying to put in with with the design of the boat along with the ride, it's hard for guys to tell.
Yeah. So the minute Scott was done, he was on the road. He called me. He was really excited. His energy level. He was more excited than he's acting right now. Just saying. But and it got me really excited because it was 2 guys. Scott is very hesitant to. His endorsement is real. I mean, he's an employee of PolarKraft, of course, but his endorsement's real. And just in case you're wondering where Josh is in this interview, we are going to put together an interview with Josh so that you guys, the people watching this, will know that we're not just creating this from I mean, it's obviously great. We want to tell our story, but Josh is gonna give us some words as well to kind of just let everybody know that what he felt about his first trip in a PolarKraft 195. So I was just very, very excited when, a guy that goes fishing a ton, that's been on a ton of different water and a ton of different boats, to say, this boat rides, this is a great boat, it fishes great, it rides great. We have we should have confidence and swagger going out and talking about this boat. And avid, knowledgeable fishermen are gonna be happy and satisfied with how it performs. So we just wanted to tell our story real quick. I mean, what else did anything else?
No, there's nothing really we forgot. We're not going to take the time in this video, obviously, to do a walk through the boat and do all those things. So, that stuff's on our website. But the boat we're talking about is a 19.5-foot Mod V aluminum bass boat, and it's got a 97-inch beam, so really wide. It's got a lot of good storage.
Typically deeper, a little bit better dead rise than most of its competitors, right?
Yeah. So you can check out the boat. We're just not going to spend the time.
Yeah. You've seen Scott and I on some of our videos. We do some construction videos, walk around videos. We're going to continue to put these out there just to tell our story and also to tell you about our products. We appreciate you taking the time. Thank Hoover for going out and braving the cold water and weather. So we appreciate that, and we'll hopefully bring you more fun videos. Thanks for joining us.